Well, good afternoon. Welcome to another Lunch and Learn episode as part of our series, monthly series we run here at PS Tech. I'm Paul Stanyer. I'm one of the directors here at PS Tech and a Microsoft 365 expert. So we try and help businesses to solve their IT, cybersecurity, and compliance challenges. And that includes educating people. So a bit like what we're doing now, educating people and businesses in best practice and getting the most out of the IT tools you've invested in. Now, last month, we had a real information offload on common questions asked about SharePoint. This month, we're taking it back a step, slowing down a bit, and we're going to introduce you to Microsoft Loop. So what is Microsoft Loop? Well, Loop was announced back in November 2021. Lots happened since then, but since March 23, so this year, Loop has been available in something called public preview. And at the end of this webinar, I will show you, I will tell you how you can access the preview for yourself. I'm just going to do a quick screen share, just show a couple of slides with you before we go into our live demonstration. Let's do that now. Okay, excellent. So what is Loop? It's an online platform where you and your teams can work together with content based on different tasks that you might be doing. And it's an app in its own right, but also it integrates with other Microsoft app. It introduces this concept of something called workspaces. And inside a workspace are pages that you create, and in those pages are content, and there is dynamic content called components. And I'm going to demonstrate how that works for you shortly. The clever thing about these components that you can create within Loop is that they can operate outside of the Loop app. And you can interact with these components in some of the other Microsoft Office apps, for instance, Outlook and Teams. So we're going to briefly demonstrate to you Microsoft Loop, and we're going to set up a company lunch planning workspace to see how we can use the Loop components that we put in there across other apps as well, and try and make something useful that we can make use of. So let me just stop this slide, and hopefully now you can see my Windows 11 desktop computer, which we're going to use for our demonstration. So the first thing we need to ask or answer is, how do we get to Microsoft Loop? Well, as we've already said, Loop is in public preview. That means it needs to be enabled by your Microsoft 365 admin. At the moment, there is no cost to using Loop. And then once you've got it enabled inside your Microsoft 365 environment, you'll be able to access it this way. So let's open up our browser on screen here and go to loop.microsoft.com. Now, when you go there, you'll need to sign in. Now, my computer's already signed in, so I haven't had to do that. You would just sign in with your Microsoft details, hit the sign in link, and you'll be in. Now, when you first start using Loop, you will land on this workspace landing page, and there will be a getting started workspace ready there for you. Before we jump into that, let's just quickly look at what settings we can configure inside here. I'm going to click on the three dots in the top right corner and choose settings. There's not a great deal you can change. You can change the theme. So we're currently in light mode, but there is a dark mode as well if you'd prefer that. There are some privacy settings that you can enable or disable. You might want to check those out. And there's a couple of experimental features. We've turned on the Jumpstart feature. We'll see that in action in a moment. And for bigger businesses who have access to Microsoft Copilot, which is their AI and part of their collaboration with ChatGPT, this will enable you to create content faster and better. So that's something we can't enable for this demonstration. So let's just very quickly drill into the getting started workspace that Microsoft have provided for us. When we go into the workspace, you'll see the layout of the page is like this. We've got our Loop preview icon on the top left. Down here, we're inside the getting started workspace. If we want to go back to the workspace landing page, we can click on that. And down here, we can browse all workspaces. That takes us back to where we just were. We'll do that in a moment. You can see we're in getting started. We're ticked there. And this user here, John Smith, has access to this particular workspace. Underneath there, we have, these are individual pages. So if I click on each page, here is the content that's been provided. And this just gives you a bit of inspiration about how you can use Microsoft Loop and some examples of some of the components and modules that are in there. So what we're going to do now, we're going to create our own workspace. We talked about creating a workspace where we could plan our company lunch. So let's go back to browse all workspaces. That takes us back to our home, that landing page. Now, when we click on the plus button, this creates a new workspace. So a workspace, basically, it's a place where you can group content together, pages with content and links to other documents as well inside your environment. So as an example, you could create workspaces for departments, sales department, marketing department, and so on. Or you might choose to create spaces based on projects. There might be a particular internal or customer project you're working on and you want the team to collaborate. So this is like an internal project. We're going to create a new workspace by clicking that plus button. And we're going to give it a name first of all. So we're going to call this the Q2 Company Lunch. Now, you can configure a few things here. Firstly, we can change the cover. This is the picture that appears at the top of our workspace. When we click that, Microsoft provides us with a few images that they've provided. You can't at the moment upload your own. I would imagine that's something that's going to come in the future. So we're going to pick this picture here and click Update. You can also give it an icon. So when I click here, you can pick from all sorts of different icons that are inside the sort of emoji keyboard. So let's jump over to the food one, because this is a lunch one. And we're going to pick, I'm not sure who's a fan of gherkins, but let's go for it, or a cucumber there. So you can also invite other people to the team. So if I create this without doing that, just me, John Smith, has access to this. So I'm going to invite a member of my team here, Bob Harris. If you're a country fan, listen to Radio 2, you'll know exactly who that is. Okay, now let's click Continue. Now this is Jumpstart in action. We saw that in the settings. And what we can do here, we can add more detail to our workspace with keywords or tags. So this is a lunch we're organizing here. So if I type lunch and press enter on my keyboard, that adds a tag. I can add more tags by typing in other words and pressing enter, and they'll all appear here. And because I've used the word lunch, the artificial intelligence has picked up. I actually have a document already in SharePoint all about the company lunch notes. So I might want to associate that document with my workspace. Let's do that. I just click it. If there are other documents or suggestions, you could click those as well as a multiple selection. We're now going to click Create. So if you've ever used a third-party tool called Notion, this will look very familiar to you. I think Microsoft, in quotes, have borrowed a lot of the features from Notion and put them into Loop. And certainly if you're not a Microsoft house, Notion might be a tool you might want to look at. But the beauty of this is that integration with Microsoft tools, the Microsoft 365 environment. So when we get to our workspace, straight away, we've got a page that's been created called Untitled Page. Every workspace starts with this. So we're going to give our page here a name, first of all. So let's just call this the Plan Company Lunch Page. Here we go. And as I typed over here, that name updated in the list there. Now, before I go any further, I might want to use a Microsoft template to bulk out this page and design it in a way that might save me some time. So down the bottom of the page here are 4 suggestions here for particular templates we might want to use. If I click Explore Other Templates, there are some other templates you can use. So if I say, for instance, this is a team decision type of page we're working on, this is the template I might choose to use for that. And here you can see here, there are questions, background content, some bullet points, some voting tables. We'll look at that in a minute, and a next step section in a way of a task planner and some pictures. So you can pick different templates for some inspiration, basically. We're not going to use a template. We're going to start from scratch. So it says here, just start typing. Now, my tip is, if you're going to use this, when you click here with the mouse, just insert a few blank lines with the return key, because it's easy to get yourself cornered. If you create something, which we'll see in a second, you can't then easily add something afterwards. So just put a few blank lines in, and we're going to click back up here at the top of our document. And you'll see below, just start typing / to insert, @ to find. So let's introduce the / option. I'm going to press the / on my keyboard, or I could have clicked the link there on screen. I can do some formatting, so I can apply some headings, different sizes headings. I can put a table, a checklist, bullets, numbers, a divider. There's something here called templates. We'll come back to those in a moment. These are the components we were talking about. And there's a few other things you can insert here. So first thing we're going to add is just a simple checklist, because I'm planning my company lunch. What do I need to do to make that happen? So let's pop a checklist in. And so just brainstorming off the top of my head, I need to choose my venue. Okay, so I add that to my checklist. I need to put a menu together. So let's just put menu. I need to think about food allergies. Don't want anybody keeling over us on us. And how are we going to get there? Well, choose the transport options as well. Okay, so I've got myself a simple, I can type properly, simple checklist here. Anyone that's got access to this particular page, so if we see here 2 workspace members, if I click that, you'll see Bob and John have got access. Bob and John can come into here and access this checklist and tick things off once they're done. Now, I forgot to invite Fred to my workspace, so I'm just going to click up here, type in Fred, and there's Fred here. I'm going to send him an invitation by clicking invite. He'll get an email saying you've been invited to the workspace, and then he'll be able to use the link to access this. Then from our checklist, individuals can come in and tick and untick items as they're completed. The thing is, that's not very flexible. There are better ways to do checklists. So let's look at another option. I'm going to press / again. And this time, rather than do a checklist, I'm going to add a task list under templates here. Now, this actually uses something from Microsoft Planner, another component inside Microsoft 365. And straight away here, you can see it's a bit more dynamic. We've got the name of the task, who it's assigned to, and the date that it's due. So it's much more useful than a plain old checklist. So let's, in our task here, I'm going to recreate my checklist in my task planner here. So first one was choose a venue. And I'm going to assign that. Bob is quite good at this sort of thing. So I'm going to assign Bob that task. And I'd like Bob really to choose the venue before next Friday. So I'm going to pick next Friday as the date. And it tells me there how many days are left as well. The menu, well, I'm going to do that because I'm a bit of a foodie. So I'm going to pick my name here. And I need to get that done really probably by the end of the week after. So let's go for the 2nd of June. I'm going to click add task to add a 3rd task. Identify the allergies. Yeah. And because Bob's looking after the, well, actually, I better do that thinking about it. I'm doing the venue. So I better make sure that we know who's got the allergies. And I should do that by the same date. And then finally, we're going to organize the transport. So are we going to get a taxi, get the train there or car share? I'll let Fred organize that. And he needs to really get that sorted out by then as well. Okay. So there's a nice task list. And we can see down here how many people have got how many tasks assigned, which is quite useful information to see as well. And again, you can come in here and tick these off once they're done, or whoever's got access will be able to do that. Let's look at another component you can do inside Loop here, which is very powerful. And this is a voting poll. So I'm going to press / again, come down to my templates, and I'm going to put in a voting table. Now we're going to get clever with this one. Let's click on that. Before we do anything else, we're going to turn this into something called a loop component, and you'll see the benefit of that in just a moment. So before I fill out any information in my voting table, I'm going to click on the little dots here, and I'm going to create a loop component. And what that will do, it will surround my voting table with this purple line with the little loop icon here. And I'm going to use my voting table here to vote on what people want to eat. So you can change the names of these columns. You can move them around as well. So I'm going to click in here. What's your idea? Well, first in is, let's change the name of this for a start. So what food? Okay. So pizza is always popular. And so we'll pop pizza in there as an idea. Now we've got pros and cons here. Well, the nice thing about pizza, I'm sure everyone will agree, is that it's tasty. The problem with pizza, for those with allergies, it may contain dairy. So there's the cons. Barbecue is another good idea. And the pro for that is we get lots of choice of food options. The down part is, well, this is Britain, and it's quite likely that the good old British weather will let us down. Okay, maybe some salad. It's healthy, that's the pro. It may contain nuts. And also we can add a second con by pressing enter. It's also a bit boring. Okay, we've now got our votes, our voting options, should I say. So while I'm here as John, I can vote for pizza. I do like pizza, so I've voted here. Now, what can we do to get John, Bob and Fred voting on this as well? Well, like I said, the components are very powerful. So in the top right corner of our component up here, you'll see the copy component link here. When I click that, that will generate a link for me. And that link has already been copied, but if you need to recopy it, you can do so. Now, I can pop this link into an email or even into a Teams chat. Let's go straight to a Teams chat. Teams is signed in, so I'm just going to launch Teams. And I've actually got a chat group already with Bob and Fred. So here's my chat with them. I'm just going to click in new message here, and I'm going to paste. Right click and choose paste, or I can press Control V. And you'll see here, it's now pasted my voting table into my chat. Now I can type an additional message here. Hi guys, let me know what you would like to eat. Okay, what you must remember to do, because this is a message, you must remember to send the message. So when I press send, that message will now appear with the loop component inside the Teams chat. And if I scroll, if I make this bigger, here we go. You can see the one vote that's already there by John. And let's just jump into a different browser here. I'm going to log in as Bob, and Bob can vote as well. So I'm in a different browser. I'm going to hit Teams. This will sign me in as a different user from who I am at the moment, which is John. So you'll see up in the top right corner, BH is our initials. And you'll see here under the Fred and John chat, there is a new message, loop component from John. And when I click on that, you'll see here are the options. In fact, you can see John is actually in that cell at the moment inside loop, and you can see he's editing that cell or got the cursor still there. There's a vote for pizza. John likes pizza. You know what? I'm happy with John's choice. I'm going to click on pizza as well. And now we've got 2 votes. That's happened inside Teams. Let me minimize Bob's Teams. In John's Teams, you can see now pizza has got 2 votes. Let's minimize John's Teams. If I come back to my loop component inside the workspace, you'll see that is also updated as well. This stuff happens in real time. Now, I could have pasted that link into an email and done it that way, and exactly the same result would have happened. So in real time, you can collaborate, get opinions, update content, and so forth. Now, let's look at another component in Loop that you can use. I'm going to minimize the Loop app, and I'm going to go into Outlook. Now, Outlook, there is a Loop component you can utilize in here to help you with something that is probably very challenging to many, and that is around scheduling meetings. So I'm going to go to John's calendar here, and I want to create a new meeting. So let's go new meeting. Now, I don't know Bob and Fred's availability, and that's always a bit of an issue. So I could go looking at their calendars, but that may take some time if I'm inviting lots of people to my meeting. So we'll just call this our test meeting. So what I have to do, first of all, I have to include the people that I'm inviting. So I'm going to invite Fred to my meeting, and I'm also going to invite Bob to my meeting. And I'm going to set the date and time of our meeting till tomorrow, and I'd like it at 0900. Okay, now this could actually be, let's not call it test meeting, let's call plan company lunch. Make it more meaningful. As I see, I can't spell. Here we go. Now, there's a button on the toolbar. On the minimal toolbar, it's this button here, which is the scheduling poll. If you have the bigger classic ribbon toolbar, it's a slightly bigger version of the same thing, new scheduling poll. Now I'm going to click this now that I've configured my invitees and my start and date time, start and end time. And a pane appears on the right-hand side here. Now, let's just quickly go down this so we understand what's going on. It's inherited some of the information from our meeting invite, but not all of it. It knows the meeting is half an hour long here, but actually that's incorrect. It's only 15 minutes. So we need to adjust that straight away. It's a 15-minute meeting. And I'm going to basically look at tomorrow, which is when I wanted to set the meeting. And if I scroll down here, you'll notice that in 15-minute chunks, I can see 3 people, the required individuals, are actually available for the meeting. There's a green tick. If I scroll down a bit further, you'll notice in the afternoon, one person is not available, Bob, and that's because Bob's got an all-afternoon training session. So straight away, as a guide, I can see when people are available and when they're not. However, this may not be their preferred time. So I'm going to give them some choices. So I'm going to say tomorrow at 9 o'clock was my first choice. I'm going to scroll back up here, and I'm going to say, well, if we can't do tomorrow at 9, let's go for Monday at 10:30. And if we can't do Monday at 10:30, then I'm going to go Wednesday at 0900. And everyone's available then. So at the bottom of the screen now, I can see 3 times have been selected. I'm going to click next, and I get a summary now of the options that I've chosen. Thursday at 9, Monday at 10:30, Wednesday at 9. It's a Teams meeting, and there's some settings you can configure as well. Let the technology work for you. So schedule when attendees reach a consensus. This basically means is once everyone votes on a preferred time, this Outlook will automatically, or the scheduling poll will automatically create the meeting for you. You can also get it to block out those 3 options in your diary to make sure no one else books that time while you wait for this particular meeting to get booked. And there's some notifications you can receive, and there's a security option here about requiring attendees to verify their identity. Let's create the poll. And what this will do is create an email. And inside the email is this block here. So I can add a message. Hi, guys. Let me know when we can discuss lunch. Okay. I can now send that email. Before I do that, I just want to show you something here. If I go view all your polls, in fact, I say what I'll do, I'll send this. Okay. I don't then send my calendar invite because the system's going to do this for me. So I'm just going to close that. Don't save changes. I'm going to close Outlook here and go back into my browser. Now I've bookmarked this for my own convenience, but I have a page here under a new tab, scheduling polls. You can see here under outlook.office.com/find time, you can use that URL, put that into your browser, and it will show you the scheduling polls that you've got running. You can have more than one at a time. And you can see under open polls here, we've got planned company lunch and some attendees there. Now I can click on that poll, and in here I can set my own personal preferences. So I've said I'm available for each of these times, but my preference is actually Thursday at 9. So I can click prefer. Now, Bob and Fred, they can also access this poll and set their availability and their preferred time as well. If I hadn't set the automatic option to schedule the meeting, I can click this button here, and that will automatically schedule the meeting at the correct day, time. And there's the options that we provided there. So that will adjust the date and time there to Friday, to Monday, and so on. So, and then I can hit that from here. So a very powerful loop component that you can use to book meetings, find availability of people, and get their preference on a time that suits them. Okay, let me just stop my screen share here. So hopefully you found that very useful. I encourage you to take a look at Microsoft Loop should you have the opportunity. And all you need to do, if you're interested in trying out Loop for yourself, is reach out to your Microsoft 365 admin. So if you're a customer of ours and in attendance now, just go to our website and contact us using the chat or using the contact us page there and request us to activate that for you, and we'll do that for you without any charge. If you need some additional training for your staff on how to get the best out of getting started with Loop, talk to us about that at the same time. So this short webinar, Lunch and Learn, will be published on our YouTube channel at PS Tech MSP in the coming days. You'll be sent the link to that in our June email newsletter, which will be sent out at the very beginning of June. Next month, just to whet your appetite, we're going to be talking about the topic of passwords. Now, passwords are the bane of all of our lives. I'm not sure how many you've got. I've got far too many. And we all know we need to be creating stronger and more unique passwords. But just how do you remember them all? How do you manage them all? And you know, how do we make it easier for ourselves? Well, next month, we're going to teach you some great practices and tips on being safer and more secure with your passwords, and letting technology work for you on that rather than you having to muck around with spreadsheets or bits of paper or however you do it at the moment. But also, we're going to publish a blog article with tips, and we'll have the Lunch and Learn episode next month demonstrating those tips to you. So I want to thank you so much for joining us this afternoon and wish you all a very safe and hopefully sunny rest of May. You take care.